So, this is a topic that is a bit near and dear to my heart. I haven't played an RPG in several years since COVID hit, but I've spent many an hour playing games that were built on the Open Gaming license.
Mm.
And Daniel hadn't really, you're not really an RPG guy, I think it's fair to say.
No. I've never partake. No.
It's one of those things where it's fun, but it's almost like cocaine, where it's like, well, yeah, I enjoy it and I can handle it, but
Yeah.
well, I can't, but
Yeah.
hypothetical baller me.
Yeah.
Uh, but I don't know if I recommend it for other people.
Ah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but basically, about 20 years ago, Dungeons and Dragons did something smart. Uh, there was so all through I think the 80s and 90s, there were a bunch of RPGs built around this called GNU. It's like General something like it was
Yeah.
supposed to be, or GURPS, I think. I forget that it starts with a G for general, and it was basically this really weird clunky framework that people could adapt to make their own role-playing games.
Okay.
um, from what I've heard, all those RPGs are kind of difficult to play and get into.
Yeah.
uh, I think it's things like Call of Cthulhu, as memory serves.
I've heard of that one. Yeah.
Hmm. This could be me talking outside of my area of expertise. So about 20 years ago, the people over at Wizards of the Coast said, let's get in on that. And so they created the Open Gaming license. And it was kind of a win-win because people wanted, Dungeons and Dragons, that's synonymous with tabletop gaming.
Hmm.
Always has been, barring this killing them, always will be.
Yeah.
So they came up with this open game license, and it was a good setup. Basically, they came out with what the core concept and rules of Dungeons and Dragons was,
Hmm.
and they made it so that you could make your own games based on it. One I used to play in college was called Big Eyes Small Mouth, which was an anime themed universal role playing system that was designed so you could make your own. Uh, in one campaign, I played Dirk Hathaway, who was a basically a British ninja who was out to make money and had a pet dragon. He had a pet lizard he had a pet cobra named Fang, who eventually turned out to be a small dragon, to
Ah.
explain his level ups.
Okay.
Meanwhile, my friend was a gun wielder, and then the GM's character was she was a mechanic vampire who was our mode of transportation.
Ah.
It's like you could have a lot of fun with Bessem.
Okay.
Uh, so but it was basically a way for people to build their own games, and it had the benefit of people could make things that you could plug into a typical D&D game, which meant that if you wanted to play that, you had to buy the core D&D rule books. So by making it so that people could participate for free, uh, it helped increase the sales of Wizard of the Coast products.
Okay.
The that, so and this went fine for many years, and Dungeons and Dragons has had a huge boost in popularity lately. People were stuck inside during COVID, so
Yeah.
playing a Zoom or Discord Dungeons and Dragons game weekly was a way to stay social.
Yeah. And Stranger Things popularity kind of brought it back too.
Yep, that and Critical Role, the podcast, and a
Hmm.
variety of other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've actually had like the most popular years in ever, really.
Yeah.
Um, and then the Fire Nation attacked. By the Fire Nation, I mean corporate greed. Uh, So the problem that we've now run into is that, uh, well, there was a statement made by, if it wasn't the CEO of Wizards of the Coast, it was the major executive saying that, oh, well, we need to be monetizing this like video games, because God
Oh,
forbid they just make revenue when they come out with something good and let the open game license help them expand.
yeah.
Because honestly, like one company like that couldn't make enough content to supply a whole fan base. and it
Yeah.
does kind of artificially depress other gaming systems that aren't compatible with them.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where, oh, you guys are so nice. Oh, that you're being sneaky.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how with Linux out there, there's a decent chance it'll be a very long time before we come out with, where we have another operating system that's really different.
Mm.
Because Android is loosely based on Linux. Chromium OS is Linux. There's all these Linux things. In theory, there would be operating systems that would be better than Linux, but who's going to bother developing that from the ground up when Linux is there to put your own cover on?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Uh, so so now what's going to happen is that, and they've altered the terms of the bargain, and pray they don't alter them further. It's gone from being a completely free thing to now, if you make more than $50,000 in revenue off of your Wizards of the Coast project or your Open Game License project, you have to report your earnings to Wizards of the Coast. And if you make more than 750,000, any dollar you make over that 750,000 off of their open game license, you now owe them 25 cents for every dollar. Not profit, raw revenue.
Raw. Oh my gosh.
Now, as this article from TechDirt points out, there are only tens of people in the world that this actually affects, and it won't go into effect until 2024. So there's still a chance that if people get angry enough that they might back off.
Yeah. But yeah, that just you're. I mean, well, everybody said it, and of course, as somebody as an outsider looking into it, you're shooting not only are you shooting yourself in the foot, you are, yeah, you're pissing off a lot of people, a lot of very loyal people who've been loyal to you, and and once you do that, like that's almost impossible to get back.
Yeah, very hard to come back from that.
Yeah.
The other thing is that this is stupid. They should have come up with an alternate license for like don't use the stick, use the carrot.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
say make another open gaming license where you help them with distribution, for example.
Yeah.
Like where you're not, it's like oh well, if you go with OGL, you're on your own, but if you go with new OGL, then and you hit certain revenue thresholds, then we'll boost you. However, like
Yeah.
we'll help you get into stores and things like that.
Yeah.
Like something that would have actually been nice.
Yeah. And Ninjato brings up something interesting. He said they could have expanded their monetization so many ways, like buying Hero Forge, Roll20, or other third-party companies that produce stuff that Wizards haven't. Yeah.
But that would be work and cost them money.
Yeah.
They'd rather just rescind the open license. By the way, it is so hard to go from going from free to paid.
Yeah. Yeah. Just ask Disney.
Yeah, and D Rhino makes a good point. That in reference to it not starting until 2024, that's enough people for time to get their own stuff ready.
It's true.
I've just on Twitter following the hashtags around it, I've seen a decent number of people say, yeah, we're going to start working on our own actually open source thing that you can't claw back like that.
Yeah. Yeah, they're yeah, Wizards of the Coast. I mean, of course they have a very very dodgy history. Um, you
Yep.
know, they kind of ruined Magic the Gathering, and you know, and Ninja Toast says the problem is that people are just making their own OGLs. Cobalt is calling their project Black Flag. Yeah, Paizo working. Yeah.
Right. So now instead of having one standard that makes it easy for people to make things, adjust them for other things, it is the hypothetical downside to what I just said. Oh, well, what if Linux wasn't there, people could make their own operating systems. Now we're back into the 80s where you have Commodore computers and Apple computers and PC and IBM PC
IBM,
compatible
yeah.
computers and Sega tried to have computers briefly in the 80s, and Nintendo had computers in Japan in the 80s, and
Yeah.
nothing worked with anybody.
Yeah.
So, congratulations, you've brought back the bad old days for everybody.
Yes. Way to
Well done.
go. Yeah. Yeah. It's they've made a mess, and they're probably not going to be able to clean it up.
No, they would have to do a lot of backpedaling very quickly.
Hmm.
Which, mind you, it has happened before. About 4 years ago, Microsoft was threatening to double the cost of uh, Xbox Gold,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I kind of remember that. Yeah.
and then they got such an immediate backlash. They said, just kidding. Sorry, guys. Sorry."
Yeah.
Uh, Well, although that's different because, um, in my opinion, Microsoft has lately been kind of the good guy Greg of console war, because it's like, hey guys, we bought Minecraft, but you can play it anywhere you like. We're cool with that. And hey, oh, we just came out with a new Halo game. Just sign up for Game Pass and have that. You don't have to
Yeah.
buy it from us straight, or Gears of War for that matter. So
Yeah.
that was like their one real misstep in my mind lately. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
Wizards of the Coast, I feel like it's Hasbro going, look, nobody is buying our stupid toys, and we haven't had a movie come out in ages. More
Yeah.
decks and get more money out of those nerds. What are they going
Yeah.
to do? Go elsewhere?
Yeah. uh, Ninja Toe says, it doesn't seem like that. They're hoping for people to forget and looking at D&D and Beyond sales to see the damage.
Yeah.
Mm,
Now, is that the movie or the TV show? Because this is very bad timing for a movie and a TV show when you're trying to appeal to your most fervent clientele to act as your evangelists.
yeah. Well, the movie's coming out. We talked about that last week. You know, the Dungeons and Dragons movie. I think that's coming out like in March or April.
I think it's March,
Yeah.
somewhere
Let's see.
thereabouts.
Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Yeah, March 31st.
Okay, so if that's Honor Among Thieves, then Beyond is the TV show coming to Paramount. Which,
Okay.
boy, between Halo and a few others, Paramount has really bad luck with these licensed properties and
Yeah.
goodwill going into them.
They really screwed the pooch with Halo. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
golly. I mean,
And like I've had people who watched Halo and said, if you don't look at it from like a culture war or go into it assuming it's going to be bad mindset, it's watchable enough. But watchable enough is not great.
yeah. Well, and they broke the cardinal rule of Halo, and that is you see the Master Chief's face.
And his ass, let's not forget.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to see either one of them.
Yeah. But so yeah, company lights itself on fire, or company that was already on fire proceeds to light itself on fire again. News at
Yes.
11.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Well.
but so speaking of things that have been lit on fire, I think that brings us to our